How's it going, guys? This is my first YouTube video, recording Reddit stories. If you like my content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and enjoy the video. Just a few weeks ago, we were on the road trip from BC to San Diego, and we came upon a campsite just outside of Crescent City, California. We drove through. One side of the campground was relatively empty. I noticed a few scattered tents, but nobody close to the location we ended up picking. We had tons of space. We wanted an early night, so I started a fire while my girlfriend started cooking. We ate, had a few beers, and climbed up to our rooftop tent with our dog by 9 p.m. or so. I had a rough time sleeping and woke up a few times, but finally fell into a decent sleep. In the pitch dark, with all of our tent windows and canvases closed, I was awoken at 1 a.m. by someone whistling outside of our tent to the tune of "When the Saints Come Marching In." After a few minutes of this repetitive whistling, I nudged my girlfriend, who awoke and was obviously freaked out as well. The whistling then turned to chanting things like, "When you sleep here, you disrespect me, and when you disrespect me, you disrespect the U.S. Marines." The person would then start spelling out words like FLEE. The verbiage and tone kept getting more aggressive, so we decided we had to make a move. I slowly unzipped the tent while our guard dog was snoring and got my head out of the tent. I took a few seconds to let my eyes adjust and figure out where the person was. I felt more confident once I could somewhat see and hear. So I climbed down, and the girlfriend passed me the dog, and she climbed too. We flipped the tent up without securing it, and we jumped into a truck while the person was still whistling to a motel in Crescent City. Lived in Hollywood Hills, and this happened in the early 80s. Crazy knocking at my door at 9 p.m. I go to answer the door, and there's a lady there, just hysterical, talking about, "There's so much blood." She looks normal and is dressed in clean clothing, so we let her in. She tells a story about seeing someone get stabbed. I call the police, and 2 uniformed LAPD officers arrive in 10 minutes. They take the lady away and tell us that she was reported missing, has a mental condition, and lives up the street. All good. 30 minutes later, another knock at the door. 2 different cops this time, responding to the call. They have no idea who the other 2 cops were. Take our information and statements, descriptions of the officers and the lady as well. Radio conversations back and forth ensue, and they really don't have any idea how any other cops could have picked her up, because they were given the call 40 minutes ago. I had to take care of my mentally handicapped cousin a few years back. She could get around well enough, but due to severe arthritis in her knees and ankles, she had to be watched, helped into the bath, shit like that. I would go into her room in the morning, help her to her walker so she could piss and make her breakfast. One morning, I heard the water running in the bathroom where I went to check in on her. I had to pass her room on the way to the bathroom. When I did, I saw that she was in her rocking chair in the corner, her blanket over her head, and she was rocking back and forth. "Don't leave the water on. You're going to flood the place." I went into the bathroom to shut her faucet off, and my cousin was there, washing her face. I immediately ran back to the room, but it was just her blanket crumpled up in the rocking chair. My cousin wanted to know why I undid her bed. I didn't stay too long after that. My boyfriend works night shift, and I was asleep alone in the house. I get woken up in the middle of the night by my puppy whining in the living room, and I assume it's because he wants outside. I'm just about to open the back door when I hear this weird scratching/clicking sound at the front door, like someone was sticking something in the lock. I go to check, and I can see the silhouette of somebody standing there through the window in the door. I then notice there is a second figure in the living room window, although it's too dark to make out any features. I know they can see me because I didn't have any blinds at this point, and they just stood there. I totally freaked and called the cops, then my dad. I huddled in the kitchen out of sight of any windows and waited for someone to come. My parents live across town and showed up before the cops. They were gone at this point, but the neighbors across the street were up and saw the car. I ended up staying at my parents' place that night, and when I came home the next morning, I noticed the basement window was partially kicked in. I got a security system installed the next day. I still have no idea who it was. I delivered newspapers in a fairly rural area the summer that I graduated high school. One night, it's pouring rain, and I'm driving down this dirt road that is a dead end to a farmer's house. I've been down this road a few dozen times and know the routine. Drop the paper off in the box at the end of the drive, whip a shitty, back up the road and off to the next stop. This time, as I'm getting out of the car to place a newspaper in the holder, I see this man in the ditch wearing a drenched white shirt running at me as fast as he can. He got 20 feet of me. I could see what my mind pictured as a hatchet or axe. I had never ran so hard in my life. Edit. I ran back around the front of my car, jumped in and took off. Everything happened so fast that I almost didn't realize where I was. It must have been about 5-10 miles later that I attempted to call 911. No signal using my Motorola flip phone in the middle of nowhere in the year 2000. I had to stop at a farmer's house to call the police at 2 a.m. Turns out, the guy killed himself within an hour of his run, with me in that wooded ditch. Edit. I had not thought about that night in a long time. Kind of rattled nerves again thinking about it. I worked with a lady once who was pretty old. I'd say about 70 years old. Since our job was pretty boring, we talked a lot, and she had all kinds of crazy stories. But this one creeps me out still. She said when her grandma died, they had her buried in a wood box in the backyard, as was pretty custom in those days. Well, years later they have a family plot in a cemetery and decide to dig her grandma up to move her to the family plot. She said when they took the lid off the coffin, it had claw marks all over the inside. The grandma had apparently been buried alive. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like my content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.